Hello my darling, it's Chanel, and today we are doing a mood reading vlog because I have so many physical books that have come in from the library and I need to get through them before I have to return them. And the best way for me to do that is just by mood reading, and I can fit as many books as I want into the vlog. So as usual, I'm going to start by reading a tarot prompt. So today's deck is called the Noble Moon Tarot, and it's a bunch of really beautiful women in here. It's got a bit of a retro vibe, very pink because, well, I'm in that kind of mood. And the card that I pulled was the Strength card. And the prompt for the Strength card is a book that either has an animal on the cover or is about animals or has the word animal in it. So for me, did I bring the book here? No, I did not. I am going to go and get it and bring it back because I have a physical copy of the book I chose. Okay, so the book that I chose to fulfill the prompt is Following the Moon by James Norbury, because it's got little animals on the front cover and it's filled with illustrations of animals as well. So that's what I'll be reading for the tarot prompt. I am also currently reading Servant of Earth by Sarah Hawley. I was just in the mood for a fantasy romantasy kind of book involving fae, and this one seems to be doing that. So at the moment you've got a young woman named Kenna, and she's poor. She's so poor, and she likes to trawl the bog for objects that she can then hawk at markets and to rather unscrupulous folks. One day, whilst she's trawling for things, she fishes up a very shiny dagger that seems to be fae made and has some magic to it. She thinks, Eureka, we're going to be rich. We can finally be okay. And by we, I mean her and her best friend, because both of them are 24. They're nearing the end of their marriageable market status period. If they don't get wifed, they're pretty much doomed. But this town has a ritual that they do, and they pretty much sacrifice maidens to the fae. They send them on this walk to the fae lands because the fae and the humans no longer interact with each other, but they pick some women and they go on this path that's lit by will-o-wisps, and supposedly if they keep following it, they will eventually get to the fae lands. But Kenna has been fishing out a lot more than trinkets from the Brog in the way of human remains. So she's like, I don't think those girls make it to the fairyland because there's a hell of a lot of skeletons in this bog. So when her best friend's name gets pulled, she decides that she's going to go with these girls and get them there safely. She's got a trusty dagger to light the way. A lot of stuff happens. I won't tell you what happens. I actually found it quite shocking. I was not expecting the turn of events. I was like, oh, okay, that did not go how I anticipated it would go. So far, I'm enjoying it. It seems like a very standard fantasy, romantasy kind of book. So it's not anything spectacular, but it's doing the job of keeping me entertained. So I am currently reading that. Obviously, I'll be reading that book. I'm going to see if there are any audiobooks available for me to listen to. But otherwise, yeah, I'll just update you as I've read books. So today I am going out with my sister. We were meant to go to the tennis, but that's been cancelled. We are just grabbing brunch, which is fine by me. I like a very leisurely ladies' lunch, just relaxing, catching up and eating good food. So that's what we're getting up to today. And then I'm going to come home and chill out and read because my kids return tomorrow. So I want to make the most of my peace and reading time as possible, but I will update you guys as I read.
The restaurant had to charge it because it's switched off. Sorry? Of course, thank you so much. Do you guys want some salt and pepper? I'll hold one.
Hello. I have read some more books. Let me tell you about the other books that I have read for this reading vlog. So I picked up Venus by Lisa Lister because I've decided my word for this year is Venusian, which sort of epitomizes beauty, art, love, pleasure, and abundance. That's the kind of vibe I am going for this year. So I thought I might enjoy this. However, the way that it is written is not for me. I'll just show you an example. And it's one of those books where a lot of words are capitalized. And it just feels very old school Instagram, motivational kind of thing. The writing style was not for me whatsoever. And also, to be honest, I wasn't really resonating with what was being written about Venus. So Venus, it could be the planet, or in particular the goddess Aphrodite or Venus, but it's just about encapsulating that Venusian energy, which is very feminine and, you know, beauty, art, pleasure focused, very sensual. But yeah, this did absolutely nothing for me. It wasn't my cup of tea. I cringed the whole time reading it. So not for me, unfortunately. I'll keep my eye out for any other Aphrodite, Venus kind of books. Then I picked up The Cat Year by Alison Davies. Cat's Magic, Nature and Spell. Sorry about the background noise, but Indy is doing her birthday party bags, getting them ready. This picks a cat for the month, and it tells you a little bit about that cat and just kind of very random cat facts. It was okay. I loved the illustration style. I thought that was very pretty. The girls liked reading a little bit of the cat facts, but this didn't actually do much for me. It was a pleasant read, but because I read a lot of cat themed books, yeah, it wasn't anything spectacular, but I still kind of enjoyed it. The next book I picked up was Book Nooks by Vanessa Dina, Claire Gilhooly, and Photography by Antonis Achilleos. I will preface this by saying, I thought, like, even based on the cover, that this would be a book about curated book spaces in homes or what have you. So whole rooms decked out and stylized with maybe bookshelves as the focal point. However, this was more about book stacks, just piles of books. Maybe it might zoom into a bookshelf, but there were no rooms. It was just like, stack your books this way, stack your books in colors. Oh, and there's one thing that I'm like, please don't do this ever. This. Like, look at this creative way to store your books. Look, guys, the books didn't deserve this. This is awful. This makes me feel ill. Seeing how these books are being bent out of shape, ugh, awful. There's also a whole section on put books in your bathroom. Guys, please don't do that. The moisture in bathrooms is a death sentence for books. They don't like moisture. Keep your books as dry as possible. I will say I did obviously like the photography's nice, but it's just not what I was anticipating. I did like, though, that they did include some interviews with people in the book world. So you've got authors, people who own book websites, journalists and the like, and they'll have a little bit about that person, and then that person recommends books. And I thought that was a fun bit, just to see what books they recommended. So here we have Alex L., who's a restorative writing teacher and host of the Hey Girl podcast and a best-selling New York Times author. And she's put books here on healing and self-love. Or for instance, you have Gillian Flynn's favorite mystery books. So she's put her favorite mysteries over here. So yeah, that was fun. But like I said, what I was expecting was more of what they show on the back page, which is rooms. You know, show me rooms, like on the front cover and here on the back, so I can get ideas for my future library. But it wasn't that. So it's beautifully packaged, but it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. The next book I picked up is Melbourne Secrets by Stephen Crafty. It says cuisine, culture, fashion and interiors. Unfortunately, this didn't do much for me. It's supposed to be hidden secrets, and it's like the National Gallery of Victoria. And I'm like, bro, come on, man. Everyone knows about that. There was one thing that I hadn't heard of before, one place that I might try to check out. And that is a place, I don't know if it still even exists. I'll have to check it out. It's called the Spring Street Grocer. And it's just this absolutely beautifully architecturally designed supermarket. So I thought, okay, if I find myself in this area, I'll Google it after this to see if it exists. If it doesn't, I'll put it up on the screen. But I'm like, yeah, I would like to go and do my grocery shopping in this place. There are a lot of hotels and stuff in here too, which I guess I could do a night away, but I didn't add too many places on my must go and see in Melbourne. So yeah, this didn't do much for me. But if you've never been to Melbourne before, then this hits a lot of the, you know, touristy locations, like a few maybe secret ones that you wouldn't probably think to go and see. But yeah, it was okay. Then I picked up the book Expiration Dates by Rebecca Searle. And okay, so based on the blurb, you think it's mostly a romance novel. But see this here? It's a lot about life in Hollywood, which I just don't care about. I don't care about. But if you're interested in Hollywood stuff and people who work in the industry and LA, that might appeal to you. Like I said, it didn't for me. The premise of this book was really interesting in that a woman, whenever she meets a man, gets a slip of paper that will tell her the name of the person and how long she's going to be romantically involved with them. Cool premise. But I just want to ask you guys, if this happened to you, so you're out and about and you get a slip of paper and it says Jake, 2 weeks, and then you meet said Jake, would you end up getting into a sexual relationship with that person knowing it's not going to last more than 2 weeks or 1 month or 3 months? I don't know, maybe it's the demisexual in me, but I would be just like, no, thank you. I'm sorry. But a few weeks, a few months, it's not worth the heartache because I will get attached and then it's going to end, definitely. And I don't want to just rack up exes. So for me, I'd be like, no, but she's like, oh, you know, one night. Girl, okay. Some people, I guess, just fine with casual sex, but that to me would be all casual sex, knowing it was going to end after a night, a few weeks, 3 months. It's like, it's not long term. I also had some issues with the story. It did feel a bit similar to The Husbands. Maybe if you like that, you will like this. I just don't feel like it was executed as well. There were some plot devices thrown in there that I could see were trying to be used to add emotional depth, but I just didn't get that from it. I didn't connect. I didn't feel any kind of, I would expect sadness because of the way that this occurs for this woman. But then something happens. A character sort of intervenes in a way. And for me, it just threw the whole thing out the window. It just got rid of the sort of laws of it. And I was like, well, you've made it ineffectual or surpassable, so to speak. And I don't want to spoil anything, but that just left a sour taste in my mouth. I'm like, well, if you could do that. It didn't satisfy as much as I was hoping. I'm giving it a 3 stars. It is easy to read. It was a cool idea, just wasn't executed in a way that I found totally satisfactory. But that was Expiration Dates by Rebecca Searle. Then for my tarot prompt, I read Following the Moon by James Norbury. I'm just going to show you some of the illustrations again because I think the illustrations in this book are just absolutely sublime. So this book is about the goodest old wolf that ever was. It is fucking sad. It's about animals. So if you're someone who gets very attached to animals, I'd probably say don't. But essentially you have a little lost pup who unfortunately stumbles across a pack of wolves. The wolves attack the pup and one of the wolves, the leader, intervenes. They just feel like it was the right thing to do to save the pup's life. And during saving the pup's life, the old wolf is fatally injured, but before succumbing to their wounds, they decide to try to help this little puppy find its mother because it's lost its mum and it doesn't know what to do. And throughout it, you've got a lot of sort of Buddhist, sayings and teachings and tenets. One quote from here is, everything that is important will happen today. There is no tomorrow. Tomorrow, when it matters, will be today. And it's that kind of thing. They meet some other characters along the way. Like I said, I find with all of James Norbury's books, they will hit you emotionally. They'll be fucking sad in some way. This one you can see coming right from the beginning because of what the setup is. And even though I knew it was coming, it still made me tear up. But they're lovely books. I've given it a 4-star. I tend to give most of them 4 stars. I like Buddhist teachings. I resonate a lot with the parables and the sayings. That, like I said, the illustrations in this are exquisite. I absolutely adore the watercolor. I love animals. And, they are very similar, all of his books, but they work. So this was a 4-star read for me. I then read Servant of Earth by Sarah Hawley, which is, I guess you would say it's a romantasy, but I feel like it still has enough of the fantasy element not to be a romantasy. I feel like it's more of a fantasy with romance strongly in it rather than full romantasy, because the world building and the magic system was interesting to me and fleshed out. So in this world you have, and I'm going to look up her name. I never ever really keep any characters' names in my mind, because I'm just not a name person. Kenna is her name. So Kenna is a poor girl and she's got her best friend, and her best friend's been selected to go to the Fey lands. Kenna knows that these women don't make it. There are bones in the bog. So she tries to help the women. Shit happens. She winds up in the Fey lands, discovers that, yeah, it wasn't what she thought it was going to be, and learns the cruelty and wickedness and manipulations of the Fey world. There are 6. The houses are void, illusion, earth, fire, light, and blood. Blood is no longer a house. Blood did try to rebel against the current Fey king, who is from the illusion court, and were completely obliterated, eliminated from existence. They also had sort of a sub-court within their domain, which was the nasties, so the kind of lesser Fae, the ones that look like monsters rather than the humanesque Fae. And basically Kenna, with her dagger that is mysterious and also sentient, which is something I do love. I love weapons with consciousness and dubious morality. That's just a thing for me. It was in the series, I forgot the name, put a picture up here, and I enjoy it. So she's got a dagger. She basically ends up given to the Earth princess who is about to participate in the trial. So the teenagers in this world have to go through this trial where they have a trial designed by each house. And if they pass it, they are given immortality and magic. If they just pass, they're allowed to live, but their magic is stripped from them. And if they don't pass, they are killed. So she's been given to the Earth Princess to try and improve her chances of succeeding in the trials. I thought the trials were interesting. I liked Kenna as a main character. There were a lot of other supplementary characters that I do also found intriguing. For me personally, I would absolutely be Bloodhouse if I was going to pledge my allegiance to any of them. But I was interested. I sat and read this in one go. You know, so like, look, I think with these kinds of fantasies, you either dig it or you don't. And if you do, you're going to have a fun time. I've rated it a 4.25. I will read one of the quotes from the book because Kenna did lose someone that she loved, and I thought the grief was handled well in the fantasy context. My heart clenched at the thought of my collection. I never even gotten to show Anya the doll I'd found. The pain of that realization felt like glass embedded in my chest, drawing blood with each heartbeat. I knew from losing my mother that grief had countless small traps like this. Not just the big ache of missing someone, but the small cuts of memories or wishes. People vanished all at once, but the things you wanted to tell them or do with them or show them didn't. So I thought that, you know, there was some depth. There was some depth to this story. There is a love triangle, I think. I liked her with the main love interest. I felt like the main love interest's actions made sense and were justified and weren't as huge a betrayal, I guess, as the protagonist thought. I liked how the story progressed. This had more spice than I was anticipating, which was a pleasant surprise for me. I would rate this an MA. It's on page and it's described, but it's not kinky. But yeah, it's described. I was like, oh, okay, it's not just, oh, they're having sex now. It's like, oh, you're talking about this thing that's happening. Right? Okay. So that was pleasant for me. So yeah, MA rating for sex scenes. So it is definitely adult, you know, which I appreciate. And yeah, I enjoyed it, and I would continue on because I'm actually still intrigued to see how it plays out. I'm not looking forward to a possible introduction of another romantic paramour. I just don't like that. Even if it's a resend situation where, oh, it turns out the first guy's at Hamlin. I still don't like it. I just like the first one to be the one. But that was, yeah, 4.25 stars, so really enjoyable. I have just started reading, and I will include this for this vlog. I thought, do I just wrap it up because I've read so many? I'm like, no, we'll do one more because this will be my last mood reading vlog of January. So I'm currently reading The Bloodless Princes by Charlotte Bond. So this is the second in the Fireborn Blade fantasy novella about knights and dragons and sapphic love. So the first one was just so interesting, and it was so well done with kind of the mixed media formatting of the way the story was told, which was interspersed with history about the dragons, who was so fucking cool. Like the White Lady, I've had to just delete that because I feel like it's a spoiler from the first book. I am still really enjoying it, and I want to see what happens. So I will most likely finish that today because I'm going out and about, but I'll talk about that in the next vlog I'm doing. And then when I come back home, I will let you know how it went. Okay, I'm back. I'm exhausted. I'm about to pass out. My body hurts. I did finish reading though The Blood Princess and I loved it. I loved it. I highly recommend giving this series, this duology, novella, fantasy, dragon books a go, especially if you enjoy dragons, if you like knights, if you like women in male-dominated fields. This one saw the mage and her knight and a dragon venturing into what I would call hell or heaven or purgatory. So they were going through the underworlds and going up against godlike creatures, and I enjoyed it. Once again, I just find it very entertaining and I absolutely freaking love the way the dragons are depicted in this. So this was a 4.5-star read. My favorite read of this reading vlog. So I'm going to leave you guys there so I can go and take a nana nap. I'm just hopefully this makes sense because I just had to edit my kid walking through the hallway out of this video. But until next time, stay well, Star Child.